Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the towless A340-600. We're absolutely maxed out on weight today here at Lost Wages. So we are about to take off at McCarran International on runway 8 left. Now take a look at this. When I say maxed out, I mean it. Gross weight, 838,800 pounds. It's so heavy that we need a full toga takeoff, not derated, and we need a bleeds off takeoff. So I've actually left the APU on. The APU is going to supply the bleed. But if we take a look here at runway 8 left, it is the longest runway here, 14,500 feet long, which is absolutely insane. And we are on it now. We're just lining up, and just before I do hit the togas, I do just want to show you this. Look at the weights. 440 passengers. We've got about 50,000 pounds of cargo. 285,600 pounds of fuel. And if we have a look at this, I don't know if you can see under my mouse there, that the top takeoff weight is right up against the top of the box. And if we look here at the flap settings, runway is too short for flaps 1, it's too short for flaps 3, it's flaps 2 or nothing, and that, as you see here, is with no flex and packs off, which is what we've done. And so getting rid of that now, we're going to take off, follow the departure, then we're going to come back round and see if we can cook the brakes. But for now, let's where are we here with the, there we go, turn the taxi cam off. We're more or less in line, and so let's more or less in line. All the lights are on, and let's start the clock and let's hit the togas. Man toga, here we go. Look at the V speeds, 169 knots for the decision. Let's get a little flyby, or drive-by, I guess you could call it. $140 knots, man, is it taking its time. And we're still going. Max toga, there's 160, there's V1, we've got to go. And there's rotate. Up she goes. Pulling back on the stick. Man, you have to pull. And she's up. Wheels up. And there we go. Absolute max weight departure then. By goodness, did you need the length of that runway? Let's go ahead, put the autopilot on now. The rate of climb, and this is absolute maximum power without bleeds. I think at 3,000 feet we begin reducing power. Can't remember exactly what I set it to. Let's have a little look here. Performance. This is already set for post departure. Well, let's keep it going. It could have been 3.5. I'm just guessing at this point. TCAS standby. Let's turn that on. Tara. I'm going to reduce now from toga. There's max continuous. Reducing power further, and there's thrust climb. Look at the speed already dropping off. We're still at flaps 2, and we are above the F, so I'm going to go for a flaps 1. Here we go. And let's see what the autopilot makes with that. I mean, look at it, man. We've not got a lot spare, let's face it. We're supposed to be 6,000 or above by flare, and it ain't too far away. We've got 1,500 feet to go, and the autopilot is riding that yellow. You know, I could really do with the extra speed here, so it's not a good time to turn off the APU bleeds. Certainly don't need the spoilers armed anymore, so we'll get rid of that. Anything else we can do? Nose light we'll get rid of. Turn off lights can go. Everything else for now stays. Yeah, 6,000 or above, and we've got 2 miles to do it, so, you know. Lost wages, departure, unable, the 6,000 at Blair. We're going to be at least 1,000 short. And so I reckon what we really need to do is get away from this minimum speed here. We need to get a bit more speed so the wings work a little more efficiently. So I'm going to go for manual, and I'm going to go for open climb, should I say, manual speed. And I'm going to try and up for like 220. Just sod trying to climb. Let's get the speed on. And so, yeah, the next restrictions, we're going to bust through them and all. 230 knots, 8,000 or above, it's just not happening at max weight. Absolutely not happening. Come on. Okay, so struggling to accelerate. You know what? Let's go for 250 knots, manual climb at 100 feet a minute. You see that trend vector, it's just wanting to peak over, and it is peaking over now thanks to a small little headwind that we just got a couple of knots. And we're still at flaps 1. Coming up to the eyebrows. And we are now slowly starting to accelerate, which is very nice. Oh, come on, keep climbing, keep climbing. Look at it suddenly losing height when it's in the turn. Look how this stall speed thing creeps right up during the turn when it's pulling alpha. Come on, keep going. You can see why this aircraft would not allow me to take off with more weight. I was trying to add more. It just wouldn't do it, and here's why. Of course, lost wages is a couple of thousand feet above the ground anyway, and the outside air temperature, you know, pretty high. Static air temperatures 22 degrees up here. Here we go. Right, let's get rid of flaps entirely. And let's pull this for open climb. And we would get permission for a high speed climb. Look at where green dot speed is. 270 knots. Oh, and we're in that protected zone already. So let's go. Let's set ourselves for green dot speed. Yeah, this is looking a lot better than it was before. 1,000 feet with a gentle climb. And as soon as we get our green dot speed, there we go. That's more like it. Wings are working a little better, and finally we get the vertical speed we've been after. I think at this moment in time I'm going to get rid of the APU bleed. With it, the APU can go. Almost, in fact, we got it there just for a moment. 2,000 feet a second. Weird how it lags sometimes when you zoom in. The solar panels there just to the south of Las Vegas. We've got the large lake there. Over there, I think it's the Hoover Dam. It's the Colorado River anyway. I think it is the Hoover Dam. And yeah, look at ortho scenery doing its thing there, looking very nice. And we are now climbing quite nicely. All right. What I'm going to do is continue climbing up to 10,000 feet. Then I will accelerate. Then I will continue the climb. And I will bring you back at some point. If we take a look at the plan here, so you don't got to stay with us the whole time. As you can see, 60 miles and then some, so I'm not going to do the whole thing either, I assure you. But here's Kino, but basically the end of the Joker 3 departure is with the Kino transition is there. I think Cage is where I'm going to disconnect from. We've got the Jin transition here for the arrival, so I think I'm going to go Cage to Jin. So I'll just show you my plan here. So Cage, next waypoint, Golf, India, India, November, November, Jin, bang, bang. And if we take a look at the new plan, there we can just about see, if I zoom in, this little dotted yellow line, that's going to be the plan. We'll insert that, and then that brings us back. We're not going to be landing on runway 8 left, simply because there is no ILS rate left. The ILS is going to be for 1 left, which is a much shorter runway. In fact, it's only about 9,000 feet long. So, we're 5,500 feet shorter than our departure. And it will be, as we've said, auto brake maximum. And that should cook the brakes if anything does. All right, I'll bring you back when there's something else to say. We're above 10,000 now, so for my sakes, I'm going to dump the nose and we'll accelerate. I don't know, I think 320 is going to be a decent speed because we're so heavy. Get rid of some of these other lights and I'll see you shortly. Yeah, so the name of the arrival is the Cocktail 3 arrival, and there is the first waypoint, and of course we've got the various transition or feeder routes that lead to it there, or the vias. I always get that wrong. Is it the vias, the transitions, the feeders? I don't know, it's all the same thing to me. We're going to follow that all the way through until we get to this point here, Roman. And so we will be breaking off here at Zelda, and rather than continuing straight on to Dion, we'll actually be turning south here. So rather than delaying the inevitable anymore, I am now going to make a right turn direct onto Cocktail, and we'll try and follow the procedure from there on in. And so here we are. Let's look through. In fact, there's Cocktail already, so direct to. Let's scroll through. There's Jin, that's the first waypoint on our arrival. Here's Cocktail, so direct to. Yes, indeed. And if we take a look here, Cocktail, we need to be between 16 and 19 at 250. You see here we are now just above that. We're at 20,000. And so to comply, I will do, let's just pull this. Altitude hold is in. And so let's drop this down to 16. I'm going to push that. Everything else is still managed. There's the decel message. We did push it. There we go. We have now managed blob, blob, blob for the managed. Down she goes. And so Cocktail just 15 or so miles away. As we make our way back for lost wages, you think up the excuse. Clearly you'd be dumping fuel, and I think we can dump fuel in this aircraft should we need, but that of course defeats the object because we are trying to cook the brakes. Fuel out tank transfer. I think I'm sure, I'm almost sure of it. See, it does tip the fuel back and forward during the flight anyway, and it does that for the trim tank. So the more fuel in the tail tank, the more economical it is for a long-range cruise. You can see it realizing that we're coming into land again, so it's tipping the fuel forward to allow for slightly better control and reduce the risk of a stall. Idle thrust, 70 pounds a minute. I don't know if you saw that on climb a moment ago. It was 700 and some pounds a minute, and on takeoff, I think it was well over 1,000 pounds a minute. All right, so cocktail here, not far away at all. We need to be 250 knots, 19,000 or less. And of course, what was against us on departure with the weight is against us for approach on arrival. The huge weight of the aircraft, because we've got height and speed, is also energy that we need to lose. We need to gain it on the way up, lose it on the way down. So a heavier plane, it may be obvious to some, but for those that don't know, in real life, the pilots actually need to begin their descent earlier or sooner, because all of that extra weight will basically help that plane cut through the same air far more easily. Right, we're 270 knots. What speed can we go flaps? Well, we can go 280, so let's go ahead. Flaps 1, and that will allow us to drop down to 250. Otherwise, we're going to bust the restriction. We are now below 19,000, so let's go ahead, grab, I think we still got the ATIS, yeah, 2995 for lost wages, so let's come in here. Performance page, descent approach, altimeters 29 decimal, was it 9495? It was 2995. Temperature, let's go ahead and see if we can actually get the ATIS. In fact, I think I did dial it in.
Temperature 33.
Temperature 33. That's correct. I didn't get the winds, but we will be arriving on runway 01 anyways. Let's get the minimums. Hang on.
1910 Zulu. Wind 070 degrees at 6 knots. Visibility
0706 knots. Alright, I've got all the information we need. Again, do wish I could turn that radio up a little bit. So 2995 on the Q&A, or the altimeters anyway. Temperature 33 degrees, winds 6 knots from 070. Decision height here, we see we've got our airplane on the chart. I'm not going to remove it because it's not really cheating. That's not part of it today. Airport elevation 2,181 feet. Yeah, so coming down here, minimums are, and it's quite high for an ILS here, 284. On the altitude 2,460. So let's go with the MDA of 2460. Bang. Flaps full gives us an approach speed of 186, landing of 181. Let's just check that don't break the speed here. Yeah, flaps full we can have at 200 knots, flaps 3 at 206, flaps 2 at 216. So actually the difference between flaps 2 and full are only 16 knots. Alright, so as we continue on with the flight then, I'm thinking, you can see there, look, the difficulty the aircraft is having in keeping up where it should be. Let's keep this going. In fact, we'll bring it all the way down to the final approach fix there, 5,300. Why not? So at 5.3, you can really see here we're at 260. We should be at 250. The height is, our vertical profile is disappearing away beneath us. So we do want access to the board. So I'm going to go ahead and just give myself 1 notch of speed brake. Which, there you can see them. They are extended, but only just. And that should dump the lift a little bit. And hopefully help us to catch up. I may just give it setting 2. Look at the trim coming back, so that's a good sign. Let's give it halfway. Speed is now at 250. And I've now got the boards up to level 2. trying to see which view's perhaps got the best sort of visual representation of where the board's. Perhaps this one here. There we go. I like that particular angle there. So that's again setting 2, which is 50%. Let's have a look. How are we with regards to vertical deviation? Back to the flight plan. Performance, where does it show? Progress. There we go. Vertical deviation 700 feet. And now 690. So we are still too high. It's maintaining 250. 700 feet again. So you can see for this planned arrival, what would be standard, because of how heavy we are, any other aircraft that idles its way in, we're requiring flaps 1 and speed brake 2, and we're still not really catching up. So let's go to the, do you know what, let's just give it full. Trim goes back, and there, look, vertical deviation is now catching up with where we want to be. Speed still at 250. Things now looking a little bit better. Let's have a little look now. There we go. That's the flaps full. Sorry, the speed brake up at full. Setting 4. It's reduced now to setting 3. And we've caught up with the deviation, so let's go setting 2, setting 1. 0. Looks like it wants us to level off a little bit, which I'm not actually happy with. We've seen the difficulty that the aircraft has in descending, so as soon as we're below that restriction, I want it to keep going down to 11. Yeah, so anti-skid switch on, that goes without saying. Landing, brakes maximum. I'm not going to turn the brake fans on because we are trying to cook the brakes, but let's show you here the wheel page, and I will put this on for landing if not before. You can see here the PSI, well, that'll clearly show us if the tyres popped or not. Currently they're all 220, 230 pounds per square inch, nose wheel slightly less. But you see here, importantly, the temperature in degrees centigrade of the wheels, which will include the brakes, the brake discs. For those of you that have never seen this before, the toe list, when you apply the brakes, sure, they instantaneously heat up, but there's actually a bit of a delay between the brakes heating up and the sensor detecting that the brakes are heating up. So as soon as we apply the brakes, you will see the temperature start to rise a little bit, and then you'll see it rising more and more. And even when the aircraft stopped, you'll still see the brake temperature rising, and that's just because the temperature is literally transferring through the brake discs across to where the thermometer sensor is. Obviously the sensor isn't right where the brake pad is, it would get in the way, and so that is why there's a bit of a delay, and that's realistic. Okay, we're resuming descent here, everything going well. So what I'm going to do now, you can see here we clearly are having a bit of our hands full in the aircraft descending. I will now bring you back once we're on final approach for one left at lost wages. Alright, welcome back. I think this is a great spot. So as we continue our approach here, we see we're just about 15 miles to go. VOR beacon slightly further at 17.5. It is a long final, but it is nonetheless the final. We will certainly have our work cut out for us, so I'll bring you in here. So landing system, my side, your side. We do have the ILS. Looks like we're bang on the glide slope here, really. So we certainly don't want to be any higher. So once again, let's get working on those boards. I'm going to do away with whatever vertical profile we've got right now. So let's go ahead for the open descent. Same with on the speed, and I will be reducing it now. We can't extend the flaps until we're 233. We certainly can't go flaps 2 until we're 216. And I'm going to have to make more use of the boards here. Height is dropping away beneath us. Flaps 2, again 233, so let's set for 230 just to be safe. And runway is in sight off our nose. We are in line, and over there we can see the casinos just, again, there is about 11 miles or so away. Come on, get below them eyebrows, man. Look at this, it's getting worse and worse and worse. So I've set for flaps 2. We've got the flap relief on. We see the slats happy to extend, but flap relief not. Let's carry on this descent, because otherwise we're never going to capture it. Go ahead, grab the localizer at the minimum. And here we are now, 220. And I'm going to go for the gear, because we're just not slowing down despite flaps 2 and the boards all the way up. We'll assume now we are clear for land. We'll go ahead, put all the lights on. And again, no reversers. We've got a high descent rate, cabin VS, caution, we're going to ignore that. Clear out the MC. And let's go ahead, grab the approach, and with it, glide slope has been captured. I'm going to manually cut the power. Glide slope captured there. Great. Cabin, let's ding dong those. Unfortunately, we can't arm the spoilers yet. So cabin, it's the mechanics or the forwards, one or the other. So press both. I never remember. Right, we are now beneath flaps 3 speed. So let's go ahead for that. And the approach speed was performance page.
1,000. Speed.
Let's do away with the spoilers. Let's go for managed. And we're right there. We're right there. We just had a bit of a caution due to the spoilers. Spoilers are now armed.
Speed.
Flaps full set. And I'm just manually going for what we have there. Auto brakes maximum. Got to remember, do not set the engines for reverse. Wheel display down there.
500.
I'll try and keep that view.
400.
Disconnect the autopilot.
300.
100 above. Minimum.
Continue.
200.
Runway's dipping away a little bit. Very high descent rate because we've got a huge approach speed, like 180 odd knots.
50. 40. 30. 20.
Retard.
10.
Drive.
Go on. That was butter if ever there was. Right. No reversers. Look at the brake temps, man. 200 odd already. Look at them. They're in the orange. 300. I'm going to have to stand on them now. 400. Rudder to the right. 5. 600. 700. And this is centigrade, not Fahrenheit. 720, we've got 800 back here. And there we go. We have come to a complete stop. All the tyres are still inflated. PSI is starting to climb a little bit. We did have 260. It's now 270. We've got 800. We've got 900 degrees back here now. I'm still stood on them. We've got 1,000 degrees on the back left. 1,000 on the back right. So it's a relatively even braking. Slightly more on the left side. But at least back here, we've got slightly more on the right here, which is interesting than the left. So a bit of a pick and mix. PSI now, 310 more or less across the board. All the brake pads are now well over 1,000 degrees. We've got 1,100, and we're starting to get a caution here as well. At 140. And it continues to climb. 330 PSI now. We did start at 260, nose wheel still chilling. I don't think there was any braking there. 1,200 degrees now. I'm going to set the parking brakes. A 350 PSI. Again, we do have this caution here, and I'm wondering why we're not seeing it elsewhere, because temperatures are continuing to climb. Unless it's just highlighting which one happens to be the worst, but only just 1280, 1290. See the rest continuing to climb. They're not far behind. This one's only 20 degrees or so behind. Now 380 PSI. I think in real life, when they did this test with the Boeing 74-8 in the desert, it was like a couple of minutes. It was 2 or 3 minutes, whatever it was, to allow the fire brigade to... It was something like that, and then it had to gradually come down. We've now got 400 PSI, 1,350 degrees. I mean, I think in real life there'd be a lot of smoke here now. Hey, but look at the... Oh, maybe it's supposed to be like that. I was just wondering if that had let low... Oh, there we go. Look at that. One of the tyres has blown. We've actually got a caution here. Let's get rid of the message. Understood. There goes another. The tyres are blowing, and if we come inside, look at this. Low tyre pressure. We can see which tyres have blown, and actually all of them have blown. So forget what I said about deflating naturally. All the PSIs have dropped. I don't know exactly when it happened, but somewhere between 1250 and 1400 degrees, we completely lost all of the wheels. And so, yeah, there we see it again, ladies and gentlemen. It is possible in X-Plane and the towless A340 to pop the tyres by making them too hot. Now, yes, I'm aware of it. Reversers would have helped cool the engines. Clearly, the brake fan would have helped as well. It's not going to fix the tyres, but let's just turn the fans on. And although it's hot, let's see if it does start. Yeah, look at that. Already having a bit of a response there on some of those very excessive brake temperatures. Very, very fast response because they're pretty insane. Clearly, it's going to take ages for that brake fan to really cool the brakes down. But I hope you found that one useful and enjoyable. And until next time, somewhere in the middle of the Lost Wages desert, keep it at Internet Flight Rules. Until next time, take care. Wherever in the world you may be, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. See ya. Ta-ra.